Hi there and welcome. Today, we're going to talk about a crucial skill in the age of artificial intelligence, how to recognize bias in AI. So what is bias in AI? Bias happens when an AI system produces results that are unfair, unbalanced, or misleading. Most often, this is because of the data it was trained on. AI is trained using real-world data. If that data includes stereotypes, missing groups, or unequal outcomes, the AI can repeat those same problems. To successfully recognize AI bias, it is essential to understand the different types of bias that can occur, identify the specific type present in various AI systems, and address the bias reflected in the AI's output. When trying to recognize if AI is producing biased outputs, you can ask yourself three key questions. 1. Who created the data? 2. Who is included and who is left out? And 3. Are certain groups being treated differently in the results? Learning the steps in recognizing AI bias is an essential first step, but let's now deepen our understanding by examining real-world examples. This will help us practice recognizing the ways different types of bias can appear in AI outputs across various contexts. In healthcare, AI tools are sometimes used to flag patients for extra care, but occasionally the tool will recommend fewer services for African American patients, even when they have the same medical needs as others. This bias stems from the historical lack of access to healthcare for African American patients. Rather than challenging this pattern with objective data, the AI system learns patterns and beliefs along with factual evidence and continues to replicate it, creating biased outputs. This is a clear example of confirmation bias, where the AI reinforces existing disparities and historical prejudices rather than correcting them. Let's look at another example. When using language translation apps, the software may consistently translate doctor using male pronouns and nurse using female ones, regardless of the gender indicated in the original language. Stereotyping bias arises from assumptions embedded in the training data, which perpetuate harmful stereotypes such as doctors being predominantly male and nurses predominantly female. In another real-world example, AI is frequently used in facial recognition systems at airports. However, these systems often have significantly higher error rates when scanning individuals with darker skin tones, leading to inaccurate or unfair results. Selection bias occurs when training data fails to represent the full diversity of the real-world population. This can lead to discriminatory outcomes such as the facial recognition model struggling to accurately identify those with darker skin tones. Finally, colleges often use AI models to predict student success in courses, but these models frequently rely only on data from students who completed the course, ignoring those who dropped out. By failing to include all individuals in the population of interest, the AI model introduces measurement bias, resulting in inaccurate and misleading output, such as flawed predictions of student success. Let's now do a quick knowledge check. Remember, asking the three key questions will help you spot hidden bias. Let's look at the first scenario. An AI hiring tool learns from past hiring decisions that strong candidates tend to come from certain universities. Over time, it starts to favor applicants from those same schools. Is this an example of AI bias? Yes. There is AI bias in this scenario, specifically confirmation bias. The bias occurs because the AI reinforces a preference for candidates from certain schools, rather than objectively evaluating all applicants. As a result, it may overlook individuals who are equally or even more qualified simply because they didn't attend those preferred institutions. Let's try another scenario. A school district uses AI to identify students who might benefit from an after-school STEM program. However, the model was trained only on students who signed up in previous years, all of which had reliable transportation. Is this an example of bias in AI? Yes. There is AI bias in this scenario, specifically selection bias. The bias occurs because the data used to train the model doesn't reflect the full student population, so the AI unfairly excludes potential participants who do not have reliable transportation. Let's try a third scenario. A city uses AI to determine which neighborhoods should receive increased trash collection services. The model bases its recommendations on complaint calls received, which only included wealthier neighborhoods, as underserved areas were not as likely to report problems. Is this an example of bias in AI? Yes. There is AI bias in this scenario, specifically measurement bias. The bias occurs because the data collected for the AI model doesn't accurately measure need across all communities, leading to inaccurate and unequal service distribution. Let's try one final scenario. An AI voice assistant is more likely to respond to commands given in standard American English. When users speak with regional dialects or non-native accents, it frequently misunderstands or fails to respond altogether. Is this an example of bias in AI? Yes. There is AI bias in this scenario, specifically stereotyping bias. The bias occurs because the AI is trained on a narrow range of speech patterns, reinforcing a stereotype that only certain accents are normal or clear, marginalizing others. You've now learned how to recognize bias in AI, whether it's confirmation bias, selection bias, measurement bias, or stereotyping bias. Understanding these concepts gives you the power to look beyond the surface of AI decisions and ask important questions about how and why those decisions are made. Being able to recognize bias in AI isn't just a technical skill, it's a critical thinking skill. It allows you to question how AI systems work, uncover unfair patterns, and push for more inclusive and responsible technology. As AI continues to shape everything from healthcare to hiring to education, your ability to identify and question bias will help ensure that these tools are used more fairly and responsibly. Thank you for taking the time to explore how to recognize bias in AI. Your awareness is a powerful step toward creating more fair and responsible technology.